You ever have one of those mornings where everything feels right, right before life sucker punches you in the gut? That was me. Sun barely up, coffee still steaming in my travel mug, and my boy Teddy trotting next to me, tail wagging just enough to show he was on duty but chill. I'd been doing these morning walks ever since I retired from the K9 unit. They helped clear my head, me, the old warhorse, and my four-legged partner who never once let me down. Teddy's more than just a dog. He's my lifeline. Keeps the noise in my head quiet. Knows when to lean in when the shakes start, knows when to nudge me back to reality when the memories come creeping in. The street was quiet that morning. Birds chirping, sprinklers hissing, sun cutting through the oak trees like honey. Teddy stopped at the corner, sat down just like he was trained to. I gave him a little pat. Good boy. Then a car came flying by, loud muffler popping like fireworks. Teddy barked once, sharp and deep, alert mode on. Not aggressive, not wild, just doing his damn job. And that's when I heard it. That voice. That shrill, holier-than-thou tone that could make paint peel. Excuse me. I turned and there she was. Karen Wallace, the HOA president. Pink visor, pink blazer, pink everything, like Pepto-Bismol with a clipboard. She strutted down her driveway like she was marching into court, coffee in one hand, some paper in the other. Her heels clicked against the pavement, every step screaming entitled. She pointed at Teddy like he'd just robbed a bank. That animal is out of control, she barked. You can't have aggressive dogs in this neighborhood. I blinked, still half in my peaceful morning haze. Ma'am, I said, keeping my tone level, he's a service dog. He barked once because of that car backfiring. He's trained to. She cut me off with a wave of her hand. I don't care what you call him. The HOA doesn't allow dangerous animals. We have rules, Mr. Dalton. There it was. That name-drop tone. The, I know exactly who you are and I already don't like it vibe. I could feel Teddy sit down next to me, head tilted slightly like he was waiting for my signal. He could sense my tension, he always did. I tried reasoning with her. He's certified. I've got the papers in the house if you wanna. No, she snapped. You're disturbing the peace. If he barks again, I'll be forced to file an official complaint. You can't just walk around here scaring people. Scaring people? I looked around. The only soul out there besides us was Old Man Reynolds, 2 houses down, waving like usual with his morning newspaper. Nobody else seemed scared, just annoyed at the noise she was making. I took a slow breath, the kind they taught me in therapy. Ma'am, with all due respect, maybe take your complaint to someone who gives a damn. I'm just walking my dog. She scoffed, flipped her clipboard open, scribbled something and muttered, "We'll see about that." Then she spun around and strutted back up her driveway like she just served a court order. I looked down at Teddy. He tilted his head again, eyes calm, patient. Don't worry, bud, I said, scratching behind his ear. She'll run out of steam before we do. But deep down I knew this wasn't over. The way she looked at me like I was some kind of threat just for existing. Yeah, she wasn't done. She didn't see a service dog. She saw a target. And she was about to make the worst mistake of her life. I was halfway through fixing the fence gate when I heard shouting from the corner again. Same voice, same screech that could crack glass. Karen Wallace, the self-appointed queen of the HOA, was at it again, this time with backup. 2 local patrol officers stood nearby, arms folded, looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. She was talking loud enough for the entire block to hear, hands flying around like she was directing traffic. There he is, she yelled, pointing at me like she just caught a fugitive. That's the man. His dog lunged at me this morning. I feared for my life. One of the officers gave her this tired look, the kind you give a toddler who's been crying for attention all day. I walked over, calm, Teddy right beside me, leash loose, tail low. He was fine, steady, alert, loyal as ever. Ma'am, I said, keeping my voice even, my service dog didn't lunge at you. He barked once because of a car. That's it. She clutched her chest like she was on stage. He's aggressive. He's dangerous. I shouldn't have to live in fear on my own street. One officer looked at me and asked, Sir, can you confirm he's a service animal? Yep, I said, pulling the laminated tag from Teddy's vest. Certified. PTSD service dog. Trained and cleared by the VA. You can check the serial number. Karen wasn't having it. Her eyes darted around, desperate for control. Then she reached into her bag and said, I have something that'll calm him down. Before anyone could react, she whipped out a small silver can and sprayed it straight into Teddy's face. A sharp hiss. Then Teddy yelped, stumbling back, pawing at his snout. The smell hit me immediately, not citronella. Chemical, acrid, burning. My stomach dropped. Pepper spray. What the hell did you just do? I roared, grabbing the can out of her hand. My training kicked in. I flipped it, read the label, and yep, it wasn't some dog deterrent. It was modified pepper spray. Karen took a step back, fake tears welling up. I was defending myself. He was growling. Growling? I snapped. Lady, he didn't even move. One officer rushed to help Teddy, the other confiscated the can, holding it like it might explode. They started writing up a report, but I could tell by their faces they weren't taking it as seriously as they should. We'll file this as a neighborhood dispute, one muttered. Dispute? I said through my teeth. That's a felony. She just assaulted a federally protected service animal. Karen suddenly got quiet, realizing she might have just gone too far. But I didn't even look at her. I was down on one knee, wiping Teddy's eyes with a wet rag from my pocket. His tail twitched once, then he leaned into me, still trusting. Still solid. You did good, buddy, I whispered. Real good. Karen thought that can would shut him up. She didn't realize she just committed a federal crime. The next morning, I was barely on my first cup of coffee when I heard a knock, not the polite kind. It was firm, official, the kind that says, "We've got paperwork." I opened the door to find a man in an animal control uniform, clipboard in hand, cruiser idling at the curb. His name tag read Ruiz, and the look on his face told me he didn't want to be there. "Morning, sir," he said carefully. "You Jack Dalton?" "Yeah," I said. "What's this about?" He sighed, glancing at his clipboard. "We received a report yesterday regarding an animal bite, involving your service dog." My stomach dropped. "A bite? You gotta be kidding me. Teddy didn't bite anybody." Ruiz shifted on his feet, clearly uncomfortable. "The complainant, a Ms. Karen Wallace, claims a minor child was bitten during your confrontation yesterday." I stared at him for a long second, trying to process the stupidity. A child? There was no kid there, man. It was me, her, and two officers who saw the whole thing. That's it. He nodded slowly, sympathetic but trapped. "Look, I believe you, but procedure's procedure. When a formal written complaint's filed, we're required to issue a temporary hold order, 10 days quarantine or immediate surrender for evaluation." That hit like a gut punch. "You're saying you're taking my dog because some psycho with a clipboard lied?" Ruiz looked pained. "If you can disprove the report within 24 hours, we can suspend the order. Otherwise," he trailed off, tapping his pen on the clipboard. "Otherwise, I have to enforce it." I took the paper from him, stamped, signed, and everything. HOA letterhead, Karen's signature right there under witness statement. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from pure rage. Teddy padded up beside me, tail wagging like he didn't know the world was trying to take him away. I swallowed hard and forced a steady tone. "You're just doing your job, Ruiz. But trust me, I'm gonna do mine." He gave me a small nod and handed me an orange sign that said, "Dangerous animal on premises." It was supposed to go on my front door for public notice. I stared at it, feeling something boil in my chest. That wasn't just a sign, that was a scarlet letter. A lie plastered in fluorescent ink. When Ruiz left, I nailed it to the door anyway, right where Karen could see it from her porch. Then I stood back and looked at it. My dog, my partner, my lifeline, being branded as a monster because some power-tripping neighbor couldn't stand being wrong. This wasn't about fear or safety anymore. This was targeted. Personal. Calculated. Karen didn't just want to punish me, she wanted Teddy gone. Dead even. But she made one fatal mistake. She just started a countdown clock, and I was about to stop it my way. I spent the next hour pacing my living room, staring at that orange dangerous animal sign like it was a ticking bomb. I had 24 hours to clear Teddy's name, and the clock was already running. There was only one way to do it, get proof. So, I grabbed my phone, threw on a jacket, and started knocking on doors. First stop, Mrs. Gable, sweet old lady, always watering her flowers, always waving when Teddy and I walked by. She opened the door just a crack, peeking out like I was selling something. "Hey Mrs. G," I said, trying to keep it light. "You happen to have your camera running yesterday morning?" When Karen went nuclear on my dog. She hesitated, eyes darting around like someone might be watching. "Oh Jack, I wish I could help, but I didn't see anything." "Really?" I said, nodding toward the corner of her porch. "'Cause that ring cam right there points straight at the street." She sighed, whispering, "Please don't make me pick sides. I can't afford another HOA fine." Then she shut the door softly, like she was closing a coffin. That was the first punch to the gut. Next, I went to Duke. Big guy, runs a detailing business from his driveway, Pretends to be friendly till Karen's around. Hey man, I said. You got those motion cameras still up? He rubbed the back of his neck. Ah nah dude. They weren't recording. System's been down all week. Yeah. Funny, I saw your feed pop up on the neighborhood app last night. He avoided eye contact. Look man, I got a business here. Karen can make life hell for people. Just, let it go, okay? Let it go. Everyone kept saying that. Let it go, let it slide, keep the peace. Like peace had ever stopped a bully. By the time I got to the end of the block, I knew the truth. This wasn't just about fear. Karen owned these people. Not their homes but their nerve. She controlled the parking passes, the yard approvals, the petty little stuff that made their lives easier or miserable. She turned an HOA into a kingdom, and nobody dared challenge her crown. So I did what I used to do when a case went cold. I called Marcus. Marcus Boyd, my old army buddy. Now a cyberforensics guy who could find deleted files in a toaster if he needed to. I didn't even have to explain much. As soon as I said HOA and false report, he just sighed. Damn it, Dalton. You always attract the crazies. Alright, text me her full name and the HOA's domain. I'll start digging into their internal email traffic. If she filed anything digital, I'll find it. I exhaled for the first time all day. Appreciate it, man. I owe you a beer. He chuckled. You owe me a six-pack. Tick-tock, buddy. Get ready to make some noise. As I hung up, I looked out the window at Karen's house. Blinds twitching, her shadow moving behind the glass. Karen built her empire on control and fear. But she just forgot one thing. I've taken down cartels, hackers, and men with guns. And I was about to pull the damn plug on her little kingdom. Marcus didn't waste time. By nightfall, my phone buzzed with his message. Check your inbox. You're gonna love this. I opened the file he sent and my jaw dropped. He'd managed to slip past the HOA's rickety, outdated email server like it was a screen door in a hurricane. Inside was pure gold, every shady thing Karen had been doing time-stamped, signed, and sent from her own damn account. The first email hit like a gut punch. From Karen Wallace to Sarah Mendez. File the bite report ASAP. Make it sound credible, mention a child. If you hesitate, consider your position terminated. Then another one just 2 days before the incident. That mutt's a nuisance. Get that dog off my street by Friday one way or another. I sat back, staring at the screen, feeling my pulse hammer in my throat. There was the smoking gun. Proof that Karen not only fabricated the report but weaponized her position to blackmail her assistant into carrying it out. Marcus pinged me again. You still there, man? This woman's running her HOA like a mob family. You planning to go public? I hesitated. Not yet, I texted back. If this leak traces to you, she'll spin it as a cybercrime. I need a confession, in person. Marcus replied with a single line, then go squeeze her weak link. He was right. Sarah was the key. She was new to the HOA staff, barely out of college, probably terrified of losing her job. If anyone was cracking under Karen's pressure, it'd be her. Next morning, I showed up at the HOA office. Tiny brick building, flag out front, fake professionalism all over it. Through the glass door, I saw Sarah hunched at her desk, typing fast, dark circles under her eyes. When I walked in, she froze like she'd seen a ghost. Mr. Dalton. This isn't a good time, she stammered. I smiled gently. Relax, Sarah. I'm not here to yell. Just want to talk. Her eyes flicked toward Karen's closed office door. I could almost hear the fear in her breathing. I know about the report, I said quietly. And I know you didn't write it. She paled. I don't know what you're talking about. I leaned closer, keeping my tone calm. Sarah, I used to interrogate federal suspects. You're not one. You're just scared. But if you keep covering for her, you're the one who'll end up holding the bag. She looked down, hands trembling. For a second I thought she'd stay quiet. Then she whispered, she made me do it. Said if I didn't file the report, she'd fire me and tell everyone I stole HOA funds. Bingo. I kept my poker face even as adrenaline surged through me. I believe you, I said softly. All I need is for you to say that again, officially. Not for me. For Teddy. Her eyes glistened. I can't. She'll ruin me. I slid a small card across the desk. Alvarez's police contact info. You don't have to face her alone anymore. As I walked out, I felt the shift. Karen didn't realize it yet, but her perfect little web had a tear, and I was already pulling at the thread. Karen's biggest mistake? She wrote her own damn confession. She just didn't know I was reading it. Jack had been watching Karen's house for days now. Not from some flashy stakeout van or with high-tech gear, just from the cracked sidewalk a few houses down, blending in like a neighbor who happened to be a little curious. He needed to find Sarah, Karen's assistant, the quiet one who'd been caught in the middle of all the lies. Jack was convinced Sarah was the key to unraveling this whole mess. That afternoon, as the sun was dipping low, Sarah pulled up in her battered sedan. She opened her car door and carefully lifted a tiny, trembling white fluff ball out of its carrier. The little dog looked more like a fluffy cotton ball than an actual animal, delicate, scared, and unsure of the world around it. As Sarah tried to leash the pup, the dog suddenly lunged away, darting toward the street without warning. For a terrifying moment, it seemed like disaster was inevitable. The dog ran straight into the road right in front of a speeding car. Without thinking twice, Jack jumped up and sprinted after the dog. His heart was pounding in his chest as he dove forward, scooping up the little pup just inches before the car screeched to a halt. The driver blared the horn in shock, but Jack was already back on the sidewalk, holding the dog tightly in his arms. Sarah came running over, her face pale and her eyes wide with panic. "Oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much," she said, her voice trembling as she reached for the dog. Jack handed the little dog over to her, noticing how the pup's tiny body was still shaking. "You okay?" he asked gently. She nodded but looked shaken. "I'm just so sorry. I should have been watching him better." Jack smiled softly. "It's all right. He's safe now." They sat down on the curb, the little dog nestled safely against Sarah's chest, wrapped in a scarf Jack had grabbed from his own jacket. For a moment, the two of them just breathed, the tension in the air thick and heavy. Then Sarah's voice dropped low, her eyes filled with tears. "I can't keep doing this, Jack. Karen, she's been forcing me to lie, threatening me if I don't. She said I had to file that fake dog bite report or I'd lose my job. She even told me, get that dog off my street by Friday, no matter what." Jack's expression darkened. "Why didn't you tell anyone before?" Sarah looked down, ashamed. "I was scared. Karen's uncle is powerful in this neighborhood. I thought I had no choice. I needed this job to pay my bills. But lying like that? It's tearing me apart." Jack leaned closer, his tone firm but kind. "You don't have to be scared anymore. You've got a choice now. Stay silent and live with the guilt, or stand up and tell the truth. I promise we'll have your back." Tears ran down Sarah's cheeks as she looked up at Jack, hope flickering in her eyes. "I want to do the right thing. I want to be brave." Jack nodded. "Good. Because this story is about to flip, and it starts with you." That afternoon as Jack walked away he felt something shift, not just in the story but in the whole neighborhood. Sometimes all it takes is saving one dog and giving one person their backbone back, to start a revolution. All it took to flip the story was saving one dog, and giving one person their backbone back. The night of the HOA's so-called emergency meeting felt like walking into the eye of a storm. Jack knew this gathering wasn't about resolving community issues, it was a setup, a last-ditch attempt by Karen and her cronies to silence him once and for all. The agenda was clear: force Jack out, discredit him, and shut down any resistance. The community center was packed, but the atmosphere was thick with tension and thinly veiled hostility. Karen strutted to the front like a queen on a throne, her usual pink blazer sharp under the fluorescent lights. With a practiced smile, she opened the meeting with the same tired safety rhetoric. "We must protect our neighborhood from dangerous animals and irresponsible owners," she declared, her voice dripping with false concern. Jack sat in the back, his eyes scanning the room, waiting for the right moment. Beside him, Marcus, ever the tech wizard, quietly set up his phone, ready to live stream everything to every local news outlet and social media platform they could reach. This wasn't going to be just another HOA meeting, this was the moment the truth came out. Suddenly the doors swung open and Sarah walked in. The room fell silent, all eyes turning toward her. Sarah's face was pale but determined. She stepped forward and with a clear voice she began to speak. "I can't stay silent anymore," she said, her gaze locking onto Karen's. "Karen forced me to lie. She made me file fake reports, threatened my job, and told me to get rid of my dog for her own agenda." A murmur ran through the crowd. Karen's confident facade cracked, her lips tightening. "That's a blatant lie," she spat, voice trembling. "This is defamation." But Marcus was already streaming, capturing every second. Sarah's testimony, Karen's panicked glare, the whispers and shocked gasps from the crowd. From the back of the room, a message popped up on Marcus's phone. The district attorney watching the live stream was already weighing in live. His official statement was clear and damning. Karen's actions constituted animal cruelty and perjury. There was no wiggle room. The law was on Jack and Sarah's side. The room erupted. Karen's screams of, "This is a witch hunt," and "You're all manipulated," only fueled the fire. Neighbors who had been silent before started speaking up, sharing their own stories of harassment and intimidation. Jack stood, voice steady and loud enough for everyone to hear. "She thought she could muzzle me, keep us all quiet. But tonight the whole damn city is watching. And Karen? She's choking on her own lies." The live stream exploded online. Comments flooded in from across the city. Local reporters called for interviews. The HOA's power crumbled in real time. By the end of the night, Karen was not the queen of the neighborhood. She was the accused, exposed under the harsh light of justice. Sarah's courage had turned the tide. The community had awakened. And for the first time in a long time, Jack felt something he hadn't in months: hope. She thought she'd muzzle me, but now the whole damn city was watching her choke on her own lies. After the explosive HOA meeting where Sarah's brave testimony had exposed Karen's lies live to the entire neighborhood, and beyond, things moved faster than anyone expected. The local animal control office reopened its investigation into Teddy, Jack's loyal service dog. Every false report, every fabricated incident filed by Karen's assistant, was meticulously reviewed. The truth was undeniable: Teddy was no threat. In fact, he was a trained service dog who had saved Jack and countless others on multiple occasions. Within a few weeks, Animal Control issued an official statement clearing Teddy of all accusations. They declared him a certified service dog and affirmed that the dangerous dog claims were baseless. This was the validation Jack and the neighborhood had been waiting for. But the consequences went far beyond Teddy's name being cleared. Karen wasn't just embarrassed, she was officially charged with false reporting, animal cruelty, and perjury. The local prosecutor wasn't messing around. Karen's abuse of power and blatant dishonesty had pushed too many people too far, and the justice system was finally catching up to her. Her once mighty HOA board, which had operated with an iron fist under her control, crumbled under the weight of the scandal. Board members who had supported Karen quietly resigned or were voted out during emergency elections. The neighborhood breathed a collective sigh of relief. A toxic chapter was finally closing. In the weeks that followed, something unexpected but deeply needed began to happen. The community started to heal. Longtime neighbors who had kept their distance came out of the woodwork. People who had been silenced or bullied found their voices again. New leaders, passionate about fairness, transparency, and respect, stepped up to rebuild the HOA from the ground up. Town hall meetings became collaborative instead of combative. Plans were drawn up to improve the neighborhood park, safety measures were revisited with real community input, and a renewed sense of unity started to bloom. And then, one crisp morning, a brand new sign was unveiled at the small park at the end of the street. Painted in bright, friendly letters, it read, "Teddy's Corner, in honor of loyalty and courage." Jack stood beside Teddy, the little white fluff ball wagging his tail happily, unaware of the symbolism his name now carried. The park was alive with children playing, dogs running free, and neighbors chatting on benches. It was a scene Jack hadn't seen here in years, the kind of peace and normalcy everyone deserved. He knelt down and ran his hand through Teddy's soft fur, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. "You know, Teddy," Jack said softly, "she called you dangerous. Guess she was half right." He chuckled, shaking his head. "You're dangerous, dangerous to anyone who tries to mess with good people." Jack looked around, taking in the scene, the laughter, the smiles, the sense of belonging. The neighborhood was more than just a place now, it was a community, a family. Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Jack sat on his porch with Teddy curled up beside him. His phone buzzed with messages from neighbors, friends, and even strangers who had followed the story online. People were sharing their own HOA nightmares, stories of standing up to injustice in their own way. Jack smiled, realizing this wasn't just about him or Teddy anymore. It was about every person who had ever felt powerless against a system meant to protect them but instead had become a source of fear. He pulled out his phone and opened the neighborhood's live stream channel. Marcus had kept it running to keep the community connected and informed. Jack looked into the camera and said, "Justice doesn't bark loud, it just bites when it counts." If you've ever had your own HOA war story, hit that subscribe button and join the fight. Because together, we're stronger than any bully. Teddy nudged Jack's hand with his nose as if to say, "Well said, partner." And with that, the story wasn't just over, it was a new beginning. A promise that loyalty, courage, and the truth would always win out, no matter how quiet or small the bite.